Kevin, good to see you. Thanks for joining today.
Thank you.
Really appreciate this. I've been extremely excited to have this conversation with you. What I want to do first is I want to let you introduce yourself and your career to everybody else.
Okay, well, my name's Kevin O'Brien. I most recently was I'm still kind of the CFO for Stop and Go Madison Inc. We are a 36-store operation, a C-store operation based out of Madison, Wisconsin. In December, we sold all our stores to a competitor, Quick Trip. And so we're just basically winding the business down.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And so you and I've worked together for it's probably been 4 or 5 years now,
Yep.
Kevin. And we've had a lot of success together. We've gone through a lot together. This is a really interesting time in the organization's lifespan. This is an interesting time for you too. Those are some of the things I want to focus on today.
Okay.
And again, you and I have been talking about this for a while, but this is something that I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about business, passionate about the M&A space as well. So we get to some of those questions, but I think the first thing that I want to ask is, you've had a very diverse career path. And you've worked in a lot of different industries. As a CFO of a pretty large company, what are some of those skills that have helped you in every position and in every industry that you've been in?
Well, first and foremost, if you want to be successful in accounting as a professional, as a leader, you need to get your CPA. That's a given. And you need to, in my opinion, work in public accounting at some time in your career. I worked for, my focus is always, I didn't want to work for a big firm. I wanted to focus on family-owned businesses, medium-sized businesses. So I went to work for BDO and then later RSM, who are mid-market accounting firms. So the nice thing there is I got to see, from an auditing standpoint, a diverse number of industries, what different ways people go do business, how businesses operate, and how they do their accounting and debt structures and things like that. So that's invaluable. You're on a client for 2 to 4 weeks, so you're seeing 8 to 12 businesses a year about auditing them. So that was fantastic. And then I decided after 6 years, like, public accounting is not for me. So I went to work in actually a client of RSM for a company that made milk bottle tops. And so I cut my teeth as a controller there. And what I mean by cut my teeth, I mean auditing a company is a lot different than doing the work. So I learned, all the bases, closing the books, meeting bankers, attorneys, all the stuff that a controller CFO does, and learn by making mistakes and things like that. But I learned. So then after that, I went to work for a company called Lanza. And Lanza was the North American distributor of a software development tool. Actually, that's where we met your organization. They were our healthcare brokers. And so that's where I felt like I really grew up. I felt like we were bought and sold 3 times while I was there. And the last time the owner of the software, developer of the software parks based out of Australia, they said, we're done here. We want control of North America. So they bought us. And part of the deal was me and the sales director had to go with them. So, I was kind of fooling myself thinking, oh boy, they want me and the blah, blah, blah. So if you don't mind, I might go on a little tangent here where I said
absolutely.
I grew up here is, so the owner, who's Australian, Australians, they're very, very transparent. They'll tell you exactly what's on their mind. So the president comes in, and he's the owner, and he's like, Kevin, I want to spend some time with you and Bill, who's the sales guy, meet some clients, but first and foremost, I want to meet with you. And I go, fine, Pete. I go, I already talked to the CFO, the corporate CFO in Australia, and we're working things out. He goes, Kevin, he goes, you report to me. You do not report to him. If you have a problem or issue, you come talk to me. And I'm like, oh, okay, Pete. And he goes, you send the numbers to him and all that, but you report to me. So I go, okay. So he comes in and we're giving a tour of the office. And he goes, boy, Kevin, this is a pretty fancy building here. He goes, why are we in this Taj Mahal? I go, well, Pete, it's a Class B building. I got a great deal on the lease, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, uh-oh, this isn't going well. So then, we're walking around and we're going through the office. We get back to my office. First thing he says to me, he goes, Kevin, I see a lot of people standing around not really being busy. I'm like, okay, Pete, but that's not my department. That's development, that's sales, that's that. If you look out the office here, you can see my people, their heads down, butt up, working. He goes, oh, it's okay. And then he goes, Kevin, why do I have you? Why do I employ you? Anybody can do accounting. Why are you working for me? And I'm like flabbergasted at this point, thinking I'm going to get fired, and all that. And I go, well, Pete, I maintain all the books. I do all that. I'm in charge of all the admin, IT. I do HR, oversee benefits. Yeah, he goes, but do you sell? I go, well, no, Pete, I don't sell. That's Bill's area. He goes, do you generate services revenue for me? I go, no, Pete, no, I don't. We have a services group that does all that. He goes, so you're overhead, right? I go, yeah. And it dawned on me at that point in time, and it's gone through something my whole career is, you need to add value to the business. You can't just sit in your little area and be a really good accountant and expect to develop and grow. And so for the next 2 days, we sat and talked and figured out things that, I should be doing as, the leadership of the company and working with Bill and our other leaders and stuff like that. And it just dawned on me. And so every day I would always go to work at that point going forward. Am I adding value? Is my boss earning more in the paycheck he's paying? And so it really stuck with me my whole career. And if anybody can learn anything from that, it would be that, especially for you're in sales. I mean, you generate sales, it goes right to the bottom line. I am overhead. So I need to add value in different ways. And it's not just keeping good books and all that, it's adding value. So great learning tool for me, something else, I've taken to my career throughout. So, that's helped me immensely. In addition to that, I work for other industries. I think the other big learning area for me was I got into turnaround consulting. And turnaround consulting, it's a very tough business. You walk into businesses that, are in terrible financial condition, are living day to day, and you learn how important debt structure is and the importance of managing your balance sheet. You just don't look at your income statement and that. You got to look first at your balance sheet and say, hey, where are we at with our debt structure, with what we can afford, all that, because if you don't manage it properly, you're gone. And or you're in restructure all the time. So it was a valuable experience for me too. So when I went to Stop and Go, they were having some financial issues, and I was able to help them get out of that and then build a business to where we grew to 36 stores. We grew profitably. Capital structure was strong, and that's kind of where I've been at. So I don't know if that's the answer you're looking for.
Honestly, I think it's above and beyond the answer I was looking for. I think, and this is one thing that I talk to my peers a lot about, and I'm involved with a couple different networking groups and stuff. But powerful message. How do you add value?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of employees, a lot of colleagues, and even myself at some points throughout the year and in my career, I've thought it's a Wednesday. I can relax because I worked really hard the past couple of days and the past Wednesday and last week. But I think continuously the people who want to be successful and the people who want to push that envelope and succeed and grow continuously add value.
Yep.
And so I think that's not only a hard value to install in people, but it's a hard message to teach. And so you sharing that with me today, I've never heard that story. I've had how many conversations? That's awesome. That's something that's going to stick with me. too. So I appreciate you sharing.
Sure.
Next question starts shifting a little bit because you talked a little bit about some of the acquisitions that you've been involved with. Past 10 months haven't been easy for anybody, any industry. You know this just as well as anybody else.
Uh-huh.
But you grew a business into something that's extremely profitable, and
Mhm.
you underwent a transaction during a pandemic.
Yeah.
Tell me about that experience, and then what advice would you give to some other business leaders and CFOs that are going through a similar process?
Well, what's going on in the C-store space is the fact it's in mass consolidation mode.
Sure.
And, I've been involved in a lot of industry events. I go to all leadership conferences and you're just seeing that. And my boss loved the business. I mean, it's 3 generations in his
Sure.
family. And we had some hard conversations about, where are we going? Andy's my boss. Andy, where are we going? What are we going to do? Do we think about selling? And he kind of always is like, well, we're doing great, Kevin. We're making money in that. But I knew coming down the road, the big boys are all coming into town. They've got a lot more capital than we do. Their buying power is much stronger. Their marketing abilities are tremendously more than us. Sooner or later, they're going to eat us up. And so it was strange that a banker acquaintance I know called me up and said, hey, there's somebody in your industry that was asking for sale. And obviously we knew who it was. There's only one big boy in the whole state of Wisconsin, that's Quick Trip. So I went back to my Andy and said, hey, this is Andy, you're going to think about this. And so we did. And so we started preparing ourselves for that next step. And the first thing we did, and it's probably the smartest thing we did, is again through industry contacts, we hired a M&A firm that specialized in our industry. I cannot understate the importance of doing that. First and foremost, we've seen so many companies our size or smaller think they can do it on their own, and they can't. I mean, not to protect themselves properly. You want somebody that knows how to handle deals, not only just from the standpoint of negotiating a good price, but you want them first and foremost to value your business, really do a hard valuation. You want them to be able to negotiate with these big boys, because these big boys, they've got teams of people that do this all the time. And our M&A firm, I mean, they know everybody in the industry, they know what they're doing. It's not just a sales price you're looking at the reps and warranties, the liabilities that you have to maybe potentially assume and all that. My owner, he had to sleep good at night knowing that once he did sell the business, he wasn't going to give back a lot of money because of some reps and warranty statement he made. And our firm did that. Now, they're not cheap. Our firm was 7 figures, but my boss and I know that we got probably 5 times in value what we paid him for that service. So you got to get a great M&A firm. The next thing you got to do is be ready to work your butt off from that point, from the time you sign that agreement to you get the check. And so because first and foremost, confidentiality is really important. For our deal, it was just me and the owner that knew anything and had to do all the work pretty much up to like 3 months before we closed. So we started negotiating, and we signed the APA in May. We didn't tell anybody probably till, once you find out, September, something like that. So all that time it's just basic me and the owner, doing all the work that you have to do. And with us, with anybody, it's make sure your house is in good order. Make sure your financials are strong. Make sure your documentation's good. You got to make sure you got all your agreements, which is a nightmare because a lot of times your IT director signed this, your marketing guy signed that. You need to have like a master folder with all your agreements. Then you got to look at all your prepayment penalties because you're going to be hitting them. And so you got to calculate your downside risk and liabilities for all that. And then, all your licenses, all your debt, everything you need to, that goes into a master data room that, buyer has access to, and they're going to ask you every question you could ever think of. It's worse than like, you're, talking to a doctor about your health issues. I mean, it's a lobotomy about everything. So you got to be ready for all that too. So, you just got to make sure your house is in order. You got everything set, and be willing to just put whatever time is to get it done, and rely on your professionals. I mean, you spend a lot of time in hiring our M&A guy, and also we hired an M&A law firm too. That again, you want specialists. We had 2 jobbers in Wisconsin that sold, and they said, "Well, you know what I did, Kevin? Yeah, I know Casey's was interested in us, and so I just called my banker and lawyer and told him to negotiate a deal." I'm thinking to myself, "You moron! How much money did you give up doing that? And how much did they throw on you to, make sure they're protecting their deal?" I mean, it's to me, it's a mind-boggling. But anyways.
So a couple takeaways: diligence, get your stuff in order, make sure that you're prepared for everything.
Yep.
Number 2, hiring good partners, I think, is always key. You and I have talked about this for a long time, and in different aspects, just outside the insurance space too. I think good partners are hard to find too. And so taking the time to vet the proper firm, proper organization is extremely important. So awesome. And then I think it goes without being said, but roll up your sleeves and get ready. Very interesting, very helpful too. I'm sure a lot of folks are going to hear this and think the exact same. I appreciate that.
And the other thing, this is again all during the pandemic, and the buyer could have walked at certain times.
Oh, absolutely.
And our deal is tight. I mean, everybody looked at their deal, our accounting firm, our bankers, our other law firm, who got upset with us because we didn't use them. Again, we wanted experts. And he said, "Your deal's tight, Kevin." And knock on wood, that was our M&A guys. And quite honestly, we hit a motivated buyer. That's the other thing, is they wanted our stores.
Sure.
And so they were willing to work with us and do the deal even during the worst of the pandemic.
Absolutely. So. And I've shared this with you before, but we've worked with a couple organizations over the past year that were going through similar acquisitions as you are, and mergers. And I'm looking at the only person that successfully did it. Okay. So kudos to you and the team. Great, call it bad luck on the other hands, or lack of preparation, but you all were the only ones that got through it. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a pretty good testament to your preparation and how you went about everything.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is we had a motivated, good buyer, and we had a negotiated a very good agreement with our firm that the APA agreement that our M&A guys did with that. So if they walked away, it was going to cost them a lot of money.
Absolutely, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Last question, Kevin, and I love asking this, but what's that one piece of advice you'll give to the CFOs of tomorrow?
I think I had something written down here. Here we go. I try to make notes on this. For an accountant, our nature, our training is to look at the world like this. The numbers are there. You can make a lot of great decisions based upon numbers, but to be truly successful, you got to look out. You got to look at bigger issues and be able to go out beside your comfort zone. And quite honestly, that's hard for accountants. And so my advice to anybody is be willing to go outside that box. Be willing to, if you're stuck in a position you're not growing, leave. Quite honestly, leave. If you're restricted, because all you're doing is limiting yourself, and so I've made a lot of changes. I've changed jobs a lot over the years. Some of them were bad decisions, but I learned, moved on, and overall, it's worked out well for me.
Phenomenal.
Mhm.
Love it. I'm not a CPA. I'm not in your space, but I'm very finance driven. And I always tell clients that, oh, well, the data is going to give us everything we need to know. And I think to your point, that's not always the case. The data gives
No,
us a good indication of the decisions we should make, but there's
right.
always other aspects that we need to consider. So really good advice.
Mhm.
Awesome. Awesome. This has been phenomenal.
All right.
I really do appreciate it, Kevin. Anything else you want to add before we close up shop today?
No, just, just if you're not moving forward, you're what? Moving behind. So,
Moving back. Exactly.
uh-huh.
I love it.
Mhm.
Love it. Well, again, I appreciate this.
No,
I've really always appreciated our partnership together and working
sure.
with you and the rest of the team. It's been my privilege. That's for
Yeah,
sure. And
yeah,
thanks again for your time today.
yeah. And I appreciate all the work you've done with us and you know, anytime I call you, you're there to answer any questions and help at any time, which it's really what you want from any service provider, but doesn't matter what industry it is.
No, I appreciate that. Thanks, Kevin.
Sure.
Talk soon.